Greetings, everyone. I am joined with Captain Xena, and I am Calibus Ran, aka Caliph, son of Kolar, the Klingon. And this is the captain and the Klingon as I put on the theatrics because I really want to win a belt. And I don't want Mark to have any. But today we're going to talk about what everyone in the Star Trek universe is talking about, and that, of course, is da 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 Section 31. Let's begin. Captain,
Yeah.
your thoughts on this show?
Um, I watched it twice, and I think I enjoyed it a little bit better when I watched it the first time. I kind of saw a couple of impurities when it came on when I watched it the second time, and I watched them a day apart because it's only been out since last week, Friday, I think it is.
Yeah.
Friday. So, yeah. I mean, I love Michelle Yeoh. She's a great actress. Section 31, I don't think I would have named this show that because when I think of Section 31, um, people that are a little bit, they're devious. They're on the down low for Starfleet. They're smart. They're spies. I didn't get that with watching this hour and 42 minutes, I think it was, show. I do agree with Calibus. If it was just a regular movie, I may have enjoyed it better. But Star Trek Section 31, no, not at all. What do you think about it?
I agree with you. You remember in the late 80s, early 90s, we had all those crazy sci-fi shows like Space Precinct and um, Cleopatra 2025 or stuff like
Yeah,
that. That's what this reminded me of. It was like this hodgepodge of stuff that they were kind of thrown together. And I get it. I truly get it. You wanna put your stamp on the Star Trek brand, but here's where you lose me. Anytime that you take the real words or slang and lingo and you put it into something like Star Trek, it doesn't work. It just does not work. When you start doing our slang and our street terms now and you put it into something that they didn't use, and I get it, you're not making this for me, you're making it for the younger people that couldn't understand Star Trek or had no interest in it, so you want to make it hip again. Don't do that. Star Trek was Star Trek for a reason. It had its audience and it still has its audience, and it just, for me, everything now goes into, it's just not enough, excuse me, to watch a show. You have merchandising. So if that's indication of where Star Trek going, the old stuff sells. None of the new stuff sells. The Discovery stuff doesn't sell. The I hate to say it, third season of Picard, mwah, oh my god.
hmm
Okay, you could have sold me anything off of that show, and I would have bought it. You know what I mean? You gave a real completion to the characters getting older, what happened, the whole nine. After, of course, the last Star Trek movie that was such an abomination that it killed the franchise. But you gave us Picard season 3. I will take season 1 and season 3. I would throw away season 2 and just roll with it. Or to be more accurate, you kind of still need season 1 though. But I would say you could just take season 3 and roll with it. But you kind of need season 1. Michelle Yeoh. I've loved her since she was Michelle Khan. I always anything that she was in, I was glued and watching, even when I didn't have the subtitles for it. The guy who played Ghost, who is the operative, who is a augment.
Mhm.
I loved his acting. The Rachel Garrett, Captain Rachel Garrett, of course, we all know what happens to her.
Yeah.
I didn't care for. Um, you know what I mean? I don't understand why they just don't go back and do a Mackenzie Calhoun Star Trek show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give us Mac. Give us Mackenzie Calhoun. Call it a day, and stop making these stupid animated comedies and give us some real Star Trek. You know what I mean? I hear Discovery on this last season really got good because it was in another time frame. They could do what they wanted to do. They
They
should
did.
have just gave us that all along.
True.
I would have been cheering it on and watching it had you said this, even the scenario is the ship is already in the distant future. It's, teetering on the edge or whatever else. And then you start building your drama from there. If I, as a Star Trek fan, can think of this, surely somebody who writes for Hollywood had to have a better idea than the crap they gave us.
Well, Michelle Yeoh wasn't in the first season of Discovery. I don't think
No,
that I
she was the
remember.
captain. Remember, she
The
was the
first
captain.
season?
Hmm.
I thought.
She was the Captain Giorgio that Michael
Yeah.
Burnham betrayed, and
Yeah.
it
She
just
was.
her doppelganger
Yeah. She
was
was.
the doppelganger was the Empress. Now again, that whole little scenario, that beginning part where she had to take her family out.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. That was hardcore.
do you want to talk about a woman that I would be like, oh my god, no, whatever you want, Empress. There's I mean, Michelle Yeoh played such a great part, and I would love for her to I don't know, explore that. That seemed too Ocean's 11ish
Yeah.
to me, and the stupid robot Vulcan with the little
Oh.
guy inside.
Yeah.
That's Men in Black. Give me a
Yeah.
break. I don't need
That
that.
was. That was.
I just, you know what I mean? I just thought that was kind of corny. The Rachel Garrett Starfleet thing was kind of corny. All you're trying to do is tie your version of Star Trek to a legitimate part of Star Trek, and keep that hold saying, look, we're a part. Here's the link that links us with it. Stop.
Yeah.
You don't really need a link. You could have made this down, gritty, and dirty, because the fanship, I can't tell you what teenager would be watching Star Trek.
True. Now, do
Mhm.
you think because she don't really need to do any more Star Trek? Honestly, she won that Oscar. She don't need to do Star Trek, and everything that I've read, she really likes, playing the Emperor and really likes Star Trek. But do you think they changed the plot just because they made it into
Mhm.
the movie instead of the originally series?
Remember now? Yep.
I was waiting for Section 31. And I
Yes.
didn't get that with this. I mean,
Mhm.
even in and I want to say DS9 or the next gen when they first kind of, at least for me, because I don't, read any of them. I just pretty much watch it on TV. When they first mentioned Section 31, I'm just, ooh,
Yes.
scandalous. And
Yes.
I didn't get that at all.
Mm-mm.
And, the team, they were a joke. I mean, I hate to say it. I love Star Trek, y'all. I mean, I got my,
Yes.
spaceship, yeah, see, there you go. But I was very highly disappointed. And even if it didn't have the Star Trek name, would I've watched it? Maybe because Michelle was in it.
Mm-hmm.
But going if it was somebody else, eh, maybe, maybe not. It's sci-fi. I enjoy the sci-fi aspect of it, but Star Trek, no.
Yeah, I totally agree. The sad part is this was planned for a series, and sadly, it died as this movie, and it breaks my heart to say it because again, I love Trek. Um, I loved the 2009.
Yeah.
Um, I kept going to the movies. I have the bridge set. I have the figures that they never finished and they stopped, and you know what I mean. And then when J.J. Abrams asked them to stop selling the old merchandise, CBS said, "No, it's what's selling. Your stuff isn't selling. We're not going to do that." And then he went over to Star Wars after he said he would never do Star Wars. He's concentrating on Star Trek. They screwed him. He goes over to Star Wars, and this is the stuff that we get because Alex Kurtzman, he can say that he knows Star Trek. It's obvious that he doesn't.
Yeah.
It's painfully obvious that he doesn't. The first thing that it's just so much potential wasted, you know. And for people to say, well, it's for another generation, I get that. But here's the thing: if you don't know your past, you damn sure can't go into the future.
True.
You're gonna be doomed making these all mistakes, and it seems like they keep making these same mistakes with these new shows.
Hmm.
They want to do all this DEI stuff, and then they want to keep pushing this. Like at the end of the show, the Vulcan now has a female alien inside of him, and I'm just like, this character was a waste to begin with.
Yeah.
I don't understand. The Delton was kind of cool, but I never
It
met
lasted
Delton.
5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm sitting there going. Ooh, a Delton. Okay, so the turning. Everybody's supposed to think they're so beautiful, and she thought she was a fighter.
That was lame.
Wrong. I'm like, what is
Yeah.
this? So I felt a little jaded with the character choices. Of course, now we got the shapeshifter from Star Trek 6. It's a dude, and of course, he's not sure of himself. Uh, you know what I mean? That type of person. This is Section 31. You have to kill people. You have to manipulate files. You have to blow
Hmm.
stuff up. Why would you get a bunch of basically incompetent people to do this, or people who are scary on missions? It doesn't make sense.
Scary.
The droid guy, I thought he was going to be able to kick some butt, but he just seemed like, and every time he opened his mouth, I
Yeah.
felt like I just was like, shut up. I mean,
Yeah.
I felt like Batman talking to Guy Gardner. If you keep running your mouth, I'm going to pop you in it. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? And he should have been the most badass character. He was a mech. He was a
Yeah.
man literally in a mech suit, and he got punked.
Yeah.
I mean, it just didn't make any sense to any of these characters except for, of course, the three, which are Georgie or
Yeah. Okay.
Georgia or whatever,
Hmm.
the augment, and of course the Starfleet officer. These three make sense.
Yeah.
The rest of the characters don't. And even as comedy relief, it's a joke. I mean, it's just a bad joke for Star Trek fans. I suppose they're going to try to spin it like they're doing the Acolyte. This was the best watched Star Trek show of 2025, and you're sitting there going, your viewership was the lowest rating
Yeah.
thing ever, and now you're trying to make it sound like it was better than what it was.
I read online that people was comparing this to Star Trek 5 to try to see which one was worse.
Oh,
And that's sad. I mean, I was so looking forward to this, and I know when I read that article or a couple of articles on it, I couldn't figure out which one that I liked worse or better between the two. Because I was like, the special effects and the graphics of Section 31 was, really, really good. But, Star Trek 5 is the original crew, and you love them. But, Michelle is in this one. Well, Spock is in that one. And I just kept on going back and forth where I couldn't figure out which one is at the bottom of the tub hole. And then it's sad. It's
Yeah.
really, really sad for, me being a Star Trek fan. I know you mentioned they're doing a lot of movies for the younger generation.
Hmm.
I wasn't born when the original Star Trek first came on. I watched it with my dad. So why don't they think they're just making these movies and shows just for the younger generation where it's the at this point since they're redoing these shows, it's me watching it with my kids or my grandkids. It's not
Yeah.
the younger generation who's just watching it. I'm watching it
Hmm.
because I want to spend time, or I wanted to spend time with my dad. I was a daddy's girl. He watched it, I watched it, and I became more of a fan than he did at the end. But why they keep on looking at just the younger generation? I haven't even seen any Section 31 merchandise. I haven't looked for any. But Calibers, have you seen anything on this show? Shirts, hats?
No. That's the thing that we look for. We look for that merchandise.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest with you. Um, the Terran Earth shirt that you have on, Terran Empire shirt that you have on is one of the better things that came out of our shop. But when I look for that Star Trek stuff, I'm always looking for Klingon stuff, and I'm always looking for something that's going to be new, something that's going to be popping. Section 31, the only thing they ever came out with Section 31 was the new badge, which is the Delta symbol with that slide of black on it.
Okay.
Okay. I gave it away at GalaxyCon 2 years ago to a friend of mine. Uh, you know what I mean? But there's nothing, they don't have anything. I get excited when a new show comes out because I know there's going to be merch. There's going to be either ships or
Mm-hmm.
weapons or, some type of maybe cool t-shirt or whatever else. And when stuff like that doesn't happen, you can tell it's a one and done.
Yeah.
To me, it was like, okay, we did this. We paid her a lot of money. We're going to put this out there. We're going to put the best spin on it, but that's it. Now, again, a lot of the younger kids they have they have lower decks. A few years ago, a friend of mine was like, "Hey, man, we're going to role play some lower deck style Star Trek," and I just looked at him and I'm like, "Don't ever please come to me with something like that. I don't appreciate that. If I want Rick and Morty, I'll go watch Rick and Morty. I don't want to see this." I had to give it a shot because we had J.G. Hertzler on our show, and he's in an episode.
Yeah.
Okay, I watched it. I'm still, it's just not. It's not for me, and that's not saying it's a bad thing. I know my limitations. That's not for me. And if the younger kids gravitated towards that, cool. But can I get some adult Star Trek, please? Can I get something that's really going to get me back in there without somebody waving a flag in my face that this is all about this and that? I don't want to hear about Earth politics in my Star Trek show. If you do it, disguise it where the Klingons are doing something to another race of people and let me think about it that way.
Yeah.
But don't blatantly put it in my face and then call it Star Trek. Gene Roddenberry had a nice little system that really touched on social issues. And for those people who say, well, Star Trek has always done social issues, but it was always disguised.
Yes.
The writing now is not disguised. It's blatant. Don't even get me started on Strange New Worlds, which is the only Star Trek that I can cling to right now. Because Anson Mount is an incredible actor.
Yeah.
I love him as Pike, but they stripped away some of his
Toughness.
masculinity.
Yeah.
As a captain, your crew shouldn't be talking to you the way your crew is talking to you.
Yes.
I mean, it's a little ridiculous. And then the last scene we get is
Yeah.
you're a captain of the flagship. This is the goddamn Enterprise. Dude, get your shit together. You're the captain.
hmm
I don't understand it, but again, it's the only Star Trek I have left besides going back and rewatching DS9 from back to front. I'm enjoying what you and I do, which is taking Next Generation and going through it. And then, we'll just probably go down the series, go down the line. That'll keep us busy for a while. But
Yeah.
it's just crazy how these things have ended up the way they are. And again, there's no merch for this show. There's
Okay.
no for it. There's and somebody will do this. They'll come out with a Section 31 graphic novel or Section 31 book. Look, no. If your TV show didn't grab me, I do not want to go to a book.
True that. True that.
It's your show didn't give me enough inspiration to want to watch it again. So now you want me to read it? No.
Yeah. I'll maybe like months in the future, I may give this show another try. Maybe. For me, I know you mentioned Lower Decks. I did not like Lower Decks. I did
Mhm.
see, the whole thing, it just ended, and I was actually happy for it to end. It was just too comic to me. The very first episode when I watched it, and yes, it was a cartoon, but just because it looks like a cartoon, it doesn't mean that it was a true cartoon for younger generations. I never thought that. And Mark will be like, "Hey, let's, we have a couple episodes, because I wouldn't watch it week after week after week. There's a couple episodes that we need to watch," and I'll be like, "Okay, I'll be on my phone, doing other things while it was on." So I do agree where, Strange New Worlds, I enjoyed it. I can't wait for it to start up again. That
Yes.
last episode, like you said, was a little bit of a letdown, just pretty much at the end. I do agree where they talk to him, to the Captain Pike, like he's just a regular old person, and you are the captain. Why
Yep.
are you just calling me by my first name? Why are you talking back on me on the bridge? You're not even doing it to the side. You're doing it on the bridge where everybody is watching. And yeah, one or two times he did call somebody into the ready room. But why are you doing that? You shouldn't even have to do that at all. You are an officer because you are pretty much on the bridge. You should know better. It's not like, you know, you join Starfleet and you immediately get on the bridge. That usually doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
And they should already have some kind of respect going up there, which there's times when I do feel like they do, but then you don't because you're talking to me and you're in charge. I've had management team that I might not care for, but at least I'm going to give them the respect of them being in charge, and I'm only going to talk to them how, hey, look, I might disagree with what you're doing, so I can't necessarily say what's on my mind. However, I can word it to a way to where you're in charge, I'm below you, and hey, blah, blah, blah. You're asking for my opinion. I'm going to go
Mm-hmm.
ahead and give you my opinion. I'm just not going to yell it out, and it's okay.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing that I took away the most. And it took me a minute to like the Khan character. That should never be on there. But anyway, I love the fact that she was falling in love with Kirk. I love that. I simply I thought that was a huge twist. And now later down the road, he's gonna have to fight, I don't know, her daddy or whatever.
Yeah.
I love that whole that was like, so intriguing to me. But they made Kirk a little wishy-washy too, because
Yeah.
Kirk was a ladies' man. And then they bring in Carol Marcus and blah 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 blah. I think I did that a little bit too fast. Give it up there a little bit. And David is on the way already. I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
that's pretty quick, But again, I don't know how this is really going. Um, they finally said Discovery was in the Abrams timeline. I
Yeah.
don't know if Strange New Worlds is, although they kept saying it was in the Prime timeline, which would make sense,
Yeah. That makes sense.
But now they made TOS um kind of like, you need to reboot it to catch up to what you're doing here. you know and if you're going to do that, just go across the board, just keep on going. Just you can't do Enterprise though at the end of all this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
um no, I don't think Section 31 should do another movie
Yeah.
or a show. I think you're done. You hit your one and done. But I can see somebody going, hey, well, we got some mediocre reviews here, let's just go ahead and greenlight another one. you
Well,
know
they're gonna have to change for me some of the characters, make them harder. Go back to what Section 31 really is. You know, the ending scene, what Jamie Lee Curtis, I thought was interesting at the end of that. But I don't know. I Anything is possible in our fandom these days with being really bad reviews and redoing the show. You never know, but as of right now, I don't see it going forward. And when I watched watch it for the first time, I noticed there wasn't no intro, a musical intro.
Mhm.
So when I watch it the second time, I said something to my husband, and I was like, "Did I miss something?" Because and he was like, "No, there's no intro. It just went right into it." And for me, I like the music of Star Trek, and
Yeah.
even Enterprise, who was just the singing. No, that wasn't Enterprise. That was
No, that
Enterprise.
was Enterprise. Yeah, you're right.
Well,
Faith of the Heart or something
orchestral.
like that, the name of the
Yeah,
song. Yeah,
you know,
it took a while though. I'm not even gonna lie, because I mean, I was kind of like, I don't know about this, but by the end of season one, I was like, okay, all right, I got it. Because we started falling in love with the characters, Archer and what he was trying to do, and the Vulcans that were trying to stop him. And then, of
mhm,
course, then they make the Vulcans seem very racist towards humans, but they were still trying to help us get out into space. And it was that part of exploration that they really got back to, which was great. But
yeah,
here, it just seemed Ocean 11y to me. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I couldn't. Yes. Now we were going to get the Romulan War with Enterprise, and then there was this whole thing where Kirk was going to come back, through the Looking Glass, through the Mirror universe, and I was just like, oh my god. But again, an exec was like, no, that doesn't seem like it'd be a viable thing. No one's really watching. Let's not do
yeah.
that. I don't know, man. Ocean's 11's all right. It ain't all that. I mean, don't get me wrong. If I want to watch a heist movie, I'd rather watch Brad Pitt and George Clooney than anybody. But I feel kind of bad because I really wanted this to be a great hit,
Yeah.
and it was a pretty much a miss. Um, Again, it reminded me of those shows from the late '80s, early '90s, those sci-fi shows. Take the name Star Trek and Section 31 out of it. Um, and just give me this whole new universe of these people. And I might be more intrigued, but it has too much Star Trek legacy attached to it to allow it to be a good show.
Yeah,
Sadly.
sadly.
All right, guys. Well, we've hit the 30-minute mark. The captain and I are very gracious that how about flop? We see Dexter's back.
Yeah.
We'll be back with another Star Trek episode really soon. I'm not going to say when because Captain Xena and I got to prepare for a con and we're getting stuff together. So we'll be back though, and to give you more of our Star Trek reviews on our next couple of episodes, which are 12 and 13.
12 and 13. Yeah.
Episodes 12 and 13 of Next Generation.
Yes.
We want to thank you guys. Captain Xena, anything else you got to say?
No, I mean, even though we've talked a little negative about the show, I would like everybody to at least give it a try. I've said at least once, um, at least it's some kind of Star Trek, and maybe one day they're actually, the movie producers and directors will actually listen to us, and maybe they haven't heard us yet. I want them to because I do love Star Trek. It's in my room and on my car, and I got shirts and dresses and stuff, and I want it to go on. And at the end of the day, if nobody watches the shows and all this negativity and, Halibut's and I was just a little bit negative on it, it won't be no Star Trek on the air. And I don't want that to happen. I just want them to hear us to make good track shows, movies for everybody, not just the younger people, everybody. Because, like I said earlier, I watch Star Trek with my dad. And if you don't have the older fans, the regular fans, the longtime fans that sit down and watch these shows, it's going to be hard to get the newer fans to enjoy this. That's what I got to say.
No, it's well said. Just because we said that it wasn't, our cup of tea, it may be yours. So we do encourage you to go see for yourself, make up your own mind. Because like she said, we want more Star Trek. And the only way that's going to happen is if you guys get out there and watch. He votes no on more Star Trek. It's good to have you back, Dex. We missed you.
I don't know, though.
All right, guys. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.